away, you two. Don't abuse it, though.
I wanted to ask you, we talked a lot this week about what guys are doing physically to get ready for a short week. What about the mental side of it, just to make sure they're mentally fresh? It's a lot of prep in 5 days. What kind of steps do you take to make sure they're mentally sharp? And what's their day look like on Thursday?
Sure, yeah. We try to do as much walkthrough and meeting as we possibly can, knowing that the reps are limited as far as the speed reps. You don't have anything really at speed with everything being a walkthrough. So what's good about that is that we in the season know that as the season goes on, or you come after a short week and you're on a Monday night and then you're in a Wednesday, or guys are banged up, you got to get sometimes, as you guys know, we have walkthrough Wednesday, right? And we don't practice on Wednesday. That's happened a couple times this season. It'll start to happen a little bit more as the season progresses. But you got to be able to understand how to work through that, right? And know how to get ready for a game while not having live reps. And so we're kind of prepared for this because we talk about it so much, about how much, it's full speed to the snap and walkthrough, full speed to the snap and walkthrough, high detail and meeting. And so we're trained to do this, and we had great guys that know what it takes to, get to the top of the mountain, and and know what it takes to prepare with our leadership guys, that they set the tone for everything. And so this is not new to us. So we feel like, hey, this is a good advantage for us, that we know how to handle this and know how to go through this because we've been doing it for the entire year.
Is the plan to keep Jordan Davis on the 53, or will you put him on IR?
Yeah, we'll see. It's still sorting through that. We don't have to make a decision yet, so still sorting through it. Letting it heal for another day, and obviously we are a little bit longer, and we don't have to make a decision quite yet. So we'll see.
Assuming that was your answer, my next one here is obviously you've spoken about players going against their former teams. In your experience, what's it like for a player when they go to their hometown, and how much of Jalen going back home is on your radar to see how he'll react to that situation?
He's played in a ton of big games. He's played in NFL playoff games. He's played in national championship games. He's played in Final Four games. Like, he's played in big high school games. So, he knows that all he can focus on is being there and being the quarterback of our team. Doesn't matter if we're in Houston, if we're in Atlanta, it doesn't matter where we are. He knows about his process, and he'd probably be the guy that'll handle it better than anybody would, because he's just so focused and dialed in on what he has to do, and not let we talk about this all the time too, not letting the outside noise get to you. Whether that's you're 7-0, you're 0-7, you're going to Houston, you're going to Alaska, whatever it is, right? And so he'll handle that great. And that really hasn't been much of a discussion about it, because I just know what we talk about all the time, and I know Jalen's the least person I worry about, because he knows how to handle his business better than anybody.
All right, we'll go to Josh next.
Hey Nick, how has Fletcher Cox's presence over the past 2 years benefited specifically Marlon and Milton? Both of them over the past couple days spoke about how it's been great having him in the room from a technique perspective, from a veteran perspective.
Yeah, Fletch, I just talked about it in our team meeting today. He helped us with an offensive thing this last week. Obviously not going to get into any of that, but these last couple of weeks, he's helped us with an offensive thing from a defensive standpoint, right? And so we know, as Stout will go ask Fletch a question. I'll ask Fletch a question schematically, or whatever it has to do with on defensive line play. And he's just such an intelligent player. Fletch is just such an intelligent player. You go and you talk to him about things so you can grow as an offensive coach, and you can grow as an offensive player, and you can grow as an offensive scheme. And so again, like I said, just in team meeting, I sung his praises about, a thing that he helped us with a couple games ago. That really helped, that really benefited from us. And how cool is that as a team, that you have that. And actually, about a month ago, I did the same thing with BG. BG had helped Zach Pascal with something. Again, not going to get into the specifics of what it was, and you probably are all thinking like, what the heck could BG help Pascal with? But there was something that he helped him with. And again, that's such a great thing about a team, is that it's just not offensive guys helping offensive guys or defensive guys helping defensive guys, right? It's intermixed in between the offense and defensive guys as well. And so, I'm saying all that to say, yeah, Fletch not only helps those guys tremendously, but he also is helping the offensive guys. But, now Fletch's main expertise, right? We're not looking for Fletch to put in many plays for us or anything like that, but, bounce some things off of him. But, his main expertise is that being a defensive lineman in the NFL. And wow, to have that ability to just be able to pick the brain of, somebody that's super talented and been super productive for a long time like Fletch, that's huge. That's one of the things we talk about early in the season. When we teach wide receivers, or if we teach a quarterback a read, we go back. What do? We look at our teach a wide receiver route. We go back and we look at that route of great players running in the past. Hey, this is a great route of this guy running this route versus this look. Oh, here's another one of this guy running this route versus this look. There's another one of this guy running this route versus this look. So you go through that process of, hey, here's what it's supposed to look like. Well, you do that at every position. But where I'm going with this is like, how great is it? Like, not always do you, when you're looking at, I'm using a receiver for example, that not always that you're looking at this comeback route that you have the guy there. You're like, hey, look at this route versus this look, right? You don't always have that guy that you're showing the example of there to talk about it. But in this scenario with Fletch, you're like, hey, look at this play and look how this is working. Look how his technique here. Great, I visualized it. Fletch, why don't you explain it further, because you're the one who did it. So huge advantage to have the players like Fletch and BG and Lane and Jason, Kelsey, to be able to give the insight of what's worked for them the past 10 years plus in the NFL. And I can't, you guys hear how I talk about these leaders on our football team. I can't say enough good things about them, because that's how they go about leading. That's why they have the C on their chest, is because that's what they do day in and day out.
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you about run defense and what your concern level is. It's hard for teams to beat you guys running the ball, but still, I mean, that 5.1 yards per carry is kind of, out of character for this group. What's your concern level, or do you just kind of shrug it off as that's kind of the way the defense is structured to keep things in front of us and not give up big plays?
Shoot, no, we're always looking at everything we can do to get better, right? And you guys have heard me say in the past, like, I don't ever want to be the bottom half of anything in the league. Now, with that being said, you also have to look at what are some of the circumstances in the game. Like for instance, last week, right, Pittsburgh, and I know we have a sample size of 7 games, so 5.1, right? But last week, Pittsburgh, right, we're in a defense up 3 scores, right, to make sure that they don't score quickly, right? Or that they have to go the long road, or make them go the long road and mess it up, like, which basically what happened, right, the other day. Well, you're going to leak a little bit sometimes in the run game if you're doing that at times, right? And so they ran, they didn't have enough time, in my opinion, they didn't have enough time to run those draws down the field and win the football game. So if that was what they wanted to do in that scenario, we were going to let them, and it worked out for that purpose. So, and there's been a little bit of that with the leads that we've had of something like, some of those things like that. So I don't want to discredit the stats, but sometimes you have to, like, it might not be quite as bad as it seems, right? And then, the big plays, that we leaked up early in the year, like, I know, like, for instance, against the Lions, right? Those issues have been cleaned up, and but those still count against that average. So, again, do we ever want to be in the bottom of the league of anything? No. And we work like crazy to make sure that we're sound in what we're doing. And we don't ever want to let a team run the football on us. But there is some context to that as well, of some of the situations that we've been in.
On the topic of explosive plays, you talk about categorizing them as 12-plus yard runs, 16-plus yard passes.
10.
Is there a different category? I'm sorry?
10.
What's that?
10-yard run.
Oh, 10-yard run. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was 12. Is there a different category for what those 30+ yard passes or those super big plays, for lack of a better term, that you saw last week?
No, there's not. We not only do we count the number though, Zach, right? So when we're talking about when we say we want to win the double positive, which is the turnover battle and the explosive play battle, I'll let you in on this insight. Not only do we want to win that number, so we don't, like, let's say last week we were +8 or something like that, right, against Pittsburgh in the explosive play battle. Not only do we want to win that number, but we want to win the total number too. So you say +8. I'm just giving an example. I don't know what it was, and off the top of my head. Let's say not only were you +5, but you were +75 in yardage. So you try to do it both and. So what you're saying goes into that. Like, so yes, to answer your question, yes, and that's how.
Okay. How's Josiah Scott looking this week?
Yeah, he's hurt, and we'll get you the injury report on him and whether he's going to be up or not. He's hurting, but I don't want to say right now that he's not going, and in case, but he's doubtful. But we'll see how it progresses on that.
Hey, Nick, if I could,
we have time for one more, so go ahead, Josh.
yeah, if I could squeeze in one more, when it comes to Miles and Kenny and really that running back room as a whole, how have you seen them improve from a pass protection perspective? It looked like on 2 of Jalen's touchdowns last week, they picked up a blitz or an extra rusher.
They're really good at it. Miles had probably his best day since I've been here in his pass pro. And to me, pass pro, there's 2 things that really go into pass pro. It's your toughness, first and foremost, and that group's tough, right? We already know they have that, and it's your fundamentals of that, because fundamentals is big time in that, like where you strike, how you strike, what you do with your hands, the hat placement that you have. There's so many fundamentals. So hats off to Jamal Singleton, our running back coach, for teaching the fundamentals. Like, I have coaches here that I want every one of our position coaches to be a master of fundamentals, right? And that's how you get a player better. And Jamal is, outstanding at getting players better because of the fundamentals. And so, but the guys have to ultimately go out and do it. And Miles and Boston and Kenny went out there and they protected their butts off, and we we're successful because of it. But it really always comes down to those 2 things, toughness and fundamentals. And I thought we played outstanding in that part of the game against Pittsburgh. And you saw with the big plays, like you mentioned, and they just keep getting better at that.
All right. Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks guys.
Nick.
We'll see you out there.